Hi, I'm Lena Guirguis, guest host on Living 365 TV today. It's time to stop waiting and start living 365. Hi, I'm Trish Browning, guest host on Living 365 TV today. It's time to stop waiting and start living 365. Welcome to Living 365 TV. I'm your host, Priya. This show is designed to bring you real experts, real tools for real people like you who are ready to stop waiting and start living 365. Today is the mother of all shows. We have two fabulous ladies that are going to talk about motherhood here with me. So for all you mothers and gentlemen that might be wanting to know about the mothers, this is a show for you. Joining me today, I have Lena Guirguis, who is the coach and founder of Stiletto and Hammers. Let me say that properly. Stiletto and Hammers. Welcome, Lena.
Thank you, Priya.
And also we have Trish Browning. Trish is the advertising sales manager at Carob 101. Trish, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I will make mention, because she's not here, Sandra Longden, Remax Realtor, was supposed to be here today, and Sandra called in unable to make it. And that is a great segue to talk about being a mother, is what do you do when these things happen, when you're about to go to work and you've got something on the go and somebody's sick or something comes up and you've got to get in. How do you deal with that, Trish?
I pack the kids up and I bring them with me.
Yeah.
That's what I have to do. At my office, we've got things that are set up so that the kids can come there and they're comfortable. So if I have a sick daughter, I'd bring her into the office. There's a couch, there's blankets, there's pillows. She's comfortable for the whole day. I can pay attention to what's going on, and I'm not feeling guilty that, oh my God, she's at home. What's going on with her? So I get to bring her to work with me.
Oh, that's amazing. That's probably one of the biggest concerns that I'm always having, or other women are telling me, is what will I do? What will a woman do when, your daughter, your son, that child who's depending on you needs you, but you've got clients or whomever else?
Yeah, definitely. And that's a great point. So Lena actually is in the prep stages and the practice stages of motherhood. She and Shadi are still practicing.
Yes.
But we thought it was really a great spin. When I actually approached Lena to be on the show, I just thought she was a mom because Sandra's a mom, and I just assumed. So when she says to me, I'm actually not a mommy, but I would love to be on the show and talk about it because I'm considering being a mother, and how will I be able to juggle. So thank you for coming in and bringing this fresh perspective, because there are so many women out there today that are career women. More and more, I've noticed that women are holding off and having children as well, because they're looking to understand and create the balance that they feel that they're going to want to need, and when is the right timing. So that brings up a really great point. Like, where are you at in your own journey with that?
So for us, we have been at the point of, okay, next year. And this is 4 years later, the year where we're like, okay, it's seriously in the next 18 months. This is where we need to really take that step forward and decide, is this where we're going to go? Or is this something that we just have to look at and say, maybe it's not right for us? And for me, I believe that you can do it all. I believe that with the right resources and the right help, a woman can do it all. I can be that career woman, and I can be a mom. And I think it's just setting it up. So Trish, what you're saying about having that space in the office where if you need to bring them with you, they're there and they're with you while you're still doing what you do, I think is huge.
That's right, because I find that if you prepare yourself and you create an environment where if something was to happen, it's already set up, you're not thrown into chaos. I'm very chaotic, but over the years I've had to learn, okay, I have to be prepared. So am I going to get upset, right? Or am I prepared for the situation that might happen? Right now, when my daughter gets sick, it's not a big deal anymore. The teachers look at me at school and I'm like, why are you keeping her, right? And I'm like, because I prefer to keep her with me where I know that she's resting and I'm not bringing her to school and infecting all the other kids, right? So I'm very fortunate that I was able to do something like that.
Absolutely. Oh, it's amazing to have that. And that's where we're going at. I'm sure for you as well. I mean, to have that ability and to have that balance, it gives people like me hope.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, definitely. It's one of the things. I've been married twice, so I've been a single mom at 2 different times in my life, currently now with the 4 kids. And it can be a juggling act. And yes, you can have it all. I find sometimes, though, some things, like any juggler, sometimes a ball drops here and there.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it comes down to as well of how you place the responsibility on yourself, or how much responsibility you own for that, which I think when I'm listening to you guys talking, I had the pleasure of being in your office last week with you and your family, and I've had the pleasure of meeting your husband as well. So how do you guys feel? Because when I listen to the tone and the flavor of this conversation, it's like, well, as a woman, how am I going to juggle this, and how am I going to put together being a career woman and a mom? Where do the dads fit in here? And do you guys think that men sit there and contemplate, how am I going to juggle being a dad and a businessman? Like, am I really going to be, what's going to happen when Tommy gets sick? Is it going to be okay? Am I going to be able to focus in my meeting? Like, how am I going to be able to have this sales projection meeting going on when I'm worrying about the fact that Lisa's blanket's still at home? I mean, really, ladies, let's keep it real here on Leaving 365 like we always do. Are men really facing those challenges?
No, I don't think so. I could only speak from experience with my hubby, and no, I don't think he really thinks of that. His thing is if I'm one of my tasks is getting advertising contract in. That means I have to be on the phone, and I need to call people all the time. Now, I don't get to call them as much as I want to. I've got a 2-year-old who's running around, who's banging on my office door wanting my attention, or, spilling water all over my desk. Like, this is so real while I'm on a telephone call, and I need to be able to block that out and deal with him. Sometimes I get frustrated. Sometimes I will tell my husband, you need to take him. And then my husband looks at me, well, you just need to stop what you're doing. Offer him, something to get his attention, and then go back to what you're doing. You're just creating chaos for yourself. And I'm like, are you serious? I'm dealing with a 2-year-old. There is no rational what he's going to do. Yes. You know what I mean? So here I am having to put him off and go back to what I'm doing and pretend nothing happened. I pretend, like I'm in this great mood, and, my son did not just wet all my paperwork on my desk, and go back to my telephone call trying to wrap up an advertising sale. But when he's left in the situation to deal with that kid, then he'll tell me 2 days later, well, I'm running behind because you left Colton with me. And I'm like, oh, well, you didn't stop and get his attention so you can go back to work?
Yeah. How's that strategy working for you?
So for him, he thinks that you should stop what you're doing and just, figure it out, and he'll be okay. He'll listen to you, and then your life won't be so chaotic. But when he's asked to do the same thing, no, it doesn't work out the way he thinks it's going to work out.
So have you ever heard your husband thinking out loud, saying I'm not sure how I'm going to manage all of this?
No. He has a plan. We have a spreadsheet. So you laugh. I swear to you, we have a spreadsheet. So when we first started talking about having children, my husband is very, very, he's the planner. So I am everything's going to be fine. And he's no, we need to have a plan because, lots of people are depending on us. Let's be grown-ups. So we were talking about having children. He said, good, I need to know how much it's going to cost us and what we need and all the things from the minute that you conceive till the child is out of our house.
It's price of conception, cost of doing delivery.
So you laugh, but I have baby wipes, the average number used per day and the average cost per. So we have these discussions, and for him it's okay, so as long as we have these plans, everything will be fine. We'll be able to handle these things, and you're going to handle the aspect of the children and everything else, and I'm just going to talk to them like adults because you only need to explain to them once and they'll be fine. Yes. And I thought, okay, well,
please do call me when your 3-month-old is puking and crapping at the same time, and pull out the spreadsheet and we'll see how we deal with that.
And how many wipes you're going to use to clean up the puke,
we
right?
We have a phrase. What is it? A 1 wiper, 2 wiper, or 3 wiper diaper? Multi-wiper diaper you don't want.
Oh,
Men usually don't want to
gosh.
change those.
No, probably not. Now, God bless him. I mean, he's
Yes,
always
of
talked
course.
about working hard now so that he can be home and help me with the children. But I think his version of helping me is to kind of, okay, so I'll handle, the paperwork aspect of things. And, you take care of the kids and, you'll take care of their meals and I'll take care of the other stuff. And you're kind of sitting there going, okay, yeah, I understand.
So anywhere on this spreadsheet did you guys factor in their personality?
I'm like, they're all going to be like me. Just get yourself ready.
Because one thing that I find, I was on the drive here. I was speaking to someone who's watching the kids right now for the show. I was explaining to her, before kids, I can be dressed in 20 minutes. It takes us an hour and a half to get 2 children just change because, they have a shower at nighttime, just to clean them up in the morning and get them in the car, an hour and a half. So this morning, I am getting dressed. I have my 7-year-old brushing her teeth. I go to say, "Are you done?" She's singing in front of the mirror. She has not brushed her teeth. Okay, so I had to get on that. Okay, so we're late now. Come on, brush your teeth. So she's done. It's now time to put on her clothes. She's putting on boxing gloves on her feet.
Kickboxing, Trish. Come
You're
on.
not thinking, so she's so distracted by everything else around her.
Gosh.
I have not factored in singing into our schedule, and I did not factor in kickboxing into the schedule, right? So these are all things that just takes you longer.
Oh.
And before you leave the house, you're worked up to hair because it's like these kids, right? We're not done now, we're late, because you never know what they're going to do. So the spreadsheet, good luck with that.
Yeah.
If you can get your kids to conform to it, powers to you guys.
Oh, poor guy. He doesn't expect us to have children conforming to the spreadsheet. It's more of let's just make sure that all the planning is done in advance so we're not worried about it. So when the kids come out, you can handle it. And then I can make sure that everything else is being done. I'm hoping that for us with both parents at home, because we work from home, that will be, he'll be able to alleviate a lot of what I might currently be stressed about having to manage. And yeah, you know what, I'll do the cooking and I'll deal with the cleaning if you're going to handle my tenants and you're going to handle the phone calls and all that other stuff. So hopefully
that's a really big plus.
Yeah.
Because if you have somebody there with you, at least, if you need 5 minutes, there's someone there.
Yeah.
If you need to run an errand, for just a half hour, you can go. You can make sure that they're okay and you can go. So that makes a big difference. And that's one of the reasons why me working and having a business and having to do it both is doable, and it's not so difficult, because as much as I may not be able to run off for 2-3 hours to do something, if I need to leave for a half hour, there's somebody there who's available that I can call on. I'm not all by myself, just doing it alone, running the business, having the kids, trying to do it all.
So
that
I'm
makes
not
a
crazy.
big no.
Good.
You're not crazy at all.
Good, it can
No,
be done.
and true. All kidding aside, having that plan ahead of time, because many people will have children and unplanned, and it works. It can work, but being prepared, financially as well, and having a little bit of an idea and a sense of who's going to do what, who's going to bear what roles, I think is a great stable foundation for couples getting involved in childbearing and child rearing, planning their families, because it helps you to have a solid foundation, because it is a bit of it. The rest of it doesn't really come with a handbook. I know there are many books out there written, but quite frankly, I think as parents, you do the best you can. You're never going to know what it's like until you get into that situation. You're never going to know what the temperament of your child is going to be like, what life situations are going to come in, emotional factors. I mean, I've been coaching a long time. Most of us as parents are trying to continue the things that worked well for us in our childhood, fix the things in amongst our children that didn't. For instance, I too work from home. My parents were both, professionals, and they were out of the house. If I wanted to see my parents, I used to go to, my mother was in real estate, so I'd either go to open house with my mother on the weekend, or my father, who was scheduled to work 5 days a week, he would work Saturdays and Sundays to keep up. I would go to his office and play on the chalkboard there, and that's how I spent time with my parents. So in order to fix that for my own stuff, I work from home, and I feel like my kids are like, oh God, is this woman here again? Like, can't she go somewhere? She's always here, because it's not what they need.
Right.
So we try to, prepare and repair our children for the things that we've sort of lacked or found to be fruitful in our own upbringing. So I'm wondering for you guys what you think that might be for you. What would be the thing that you would want to bring to the table to your children? What would be the thing that you would maybe want to change from your own childhood and be changed differently as a mother?
Wow, loaded question. So
She's like, I hope my mom's not watching.
no, I hope my mom is. My parents did really, really well. My parents immigrated here. My mom was still pregnant with my brother, and I was 3. So they came into a brand new country with nothing, no language, nothing, and they did great. I mean, for us as a family, it was always very important that we always had our meals together. We always had our meals together whenever we were home. And it was always, I mean, at that time there weren't cell phones or things like that. So it was always TVs are off and it's us together. So that's something that we have that right now in our home, just with the 2 of us. We always eat together and it's like not interrupted. And I want to keep that going with our kids.
Nice.
And I think both my husband and I are working to provide the children with the environment of not having one parent at home with one working a night shift, because they're trying to balance the flow of kids and expenses and whatnot. But now I'm hearing you and I'm going, oh God, are they going to be like, please get this woman out of my house? There's 2 of them. But our goal was always to be able to spend as much time with them without them ever feeling that, having to sit at school and wait because mom can't get out on time because she still needs to finish her shift, or, dad is working evenings this weekend, so you need to spend an hour later waiting for somebody to come and pick you up. So those are the things that we're trying to, not have come into it. But I don't know, now I'm thinking maybe we need to spend a little time away from the house too.
And I think it's a hugely important point, because it's true. It gives them a sense of independence. It also gives you a sense of being able to be yourself, for your husband to be himself, for you two to be a couple. So sometimes when in that work from home environment, it can lend itself, because you guys are together all the time. And so it doesn't necessarily leave for a lot of, like, some children that come from that environment can be very attached to their home surroundings because they're not necessarily out and away from their parents a lot, because they're there. It has its pros and its cons. They're used to being blended in the family unit, but sometimes away from home, sometimes it can create a little bit of struggle with independence. So obviously something that you have that awareness around. Now, how do you manage that? And before I even get to that question, I have to tell you, I brought it up the other day. We were in Trish's office with Grant and their beautiful son Colton was running around. Trish had made this wonderful lunch of jerk chicken, and she was preparing it for us to have for lunch. So she's trying to put this food out, and Colton's running around. And she turns to Grant and she says, Grant, can you just watch him for a second? And Grant says, yeah. And so she's still running around, and Colton's still running around, and Grant's standing there talking to us. And she says, Grant, I asked you to watch him. He's like, yeah, I am. And I was like, buddy, really? But because a lot of times, I mean, in his model of the world, he's watching him, he's seeing him, and that would be okay, probably, if that was his situation. But for her, she meant, could you move him away
from grabbing everything on the table?
But it was so funny. It's like, yeah, I'm watching. Go ahead.
Make sure he doesn't fly.
So I'm wondering, in that dynamic of you guys being there, how do you balance that out with, the independence of them getting time with other people? Like, are there grandparents that they spend time with without you guys? How do you maintain your couple's time?
Well, when it was just Michaela, when it was just her, we spent a lot of time together because Michaela would go to grandparents for the weekend and it would just be me and him. Now I'm finding we're going into our 10th year of marriage. So even though that I think things are okay, I realized a couple weeks ago that it's not okay. Because we're spending all this time together with each other because we're constantly around each other, but we're really not spending our quality time as husband and wife. And I love my children dearly, but something came up on my birthday, because on my birthday I wanted to, we decided we weren't going to go to dinner, and I needed to get a few things. So I'm like, okay, can we just go to the mall, just you and me? Because I'm always shopping with kids, and I know how chaotic that is, that it's not a fun thing to do, right? So I'm like, can we just go, me and you, to the mall? We'll drop the kids off at your mom. She's not far from the mall, and we'll just do our thing very quickly, and we'll go pick them up. Well, it so happened that something happened with his mom, and she couldn't watch the kids. So I'm like, no, I don't want to go, right? And he's like, no, let's just go. And I'm like, well, by the time we get them packed up and in the car, we have like an hour to run around to 3 stores to do my stuff. And he's like, no, let's just go. So all through the mall, I'm just peed off, right? Because I'm like, I just wanted to do this. Now it's just a chore. So I left it be. I accomplished it. But it came up a couple days ago. It came up with Priya that I'm like, you know what? That really hurt me. Because if we were going away on a vacation, I'm not even thinking of leaving them at home.
Yeah.
I want them to come. But it was so important for me to connect back with him that I was very upset. So I've identified that we need to take time for the two of us because we used to have a lot of that. And a couple of months ago, he said something to me. And I just kind of brushed it off, right? Like, I didn't even pay attention to him. But then I realized that he was craving the same one-on-one attention. Mm. And I didn't feel it until, this came up in October. And I'm like, am I insane? Like, why is it that I don't want my kids there? Because I felt guilty. Right. But so I think that when you're balancing the kids and you're balancing work, even though that you might be around your spouse all the time, it's still very important to spend one-on-one time because we take that for granted a lot. Like I've taken that for granted because I'm thinking I'm around you all the time. Like we don't need to do this one-on-one thing. Yeah. But I found out just recently that I needed it and I didn't know it. Subconsciously, I didn't know it because I thought I was fine. Yeah. It was on my birthday. It became such a big deal that I'm like, I am so unreasonable. Like, why am I doing this? Yeah. Because we talked about going away, on a 2 or 3 day vacation to the Caribbean very quickly. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that. Our kids are coming because I'm not sitting on a beach wondering to know what's going on with them. Yeah. Are they okay? I know my daughter would be, but not my son. He's very attached. So, everything we do, it's like we're always thinking about the kids.
Wow. So I'm wondering, how does that strike you, considering starting a family and what does that make you think about or question in terms of changing from being a couple to now being a family and this stage of adjustment? Does that pose any type of discomfort or fear or just...
It's funny. So my husband and I have been married 7 years. We've been together 12. We've been married 7. So obviously everybody's sitting there going, what are you waiting for? And I joke, I tell people, I'm like, sometimes I feel like we would have been better off having kids right away. We would have just had to learn how to adjust and do everything. And we're having such a great time that it's hard to imagine that the balance of what we've got going on is going to change. Now, we've been running and growing businesses together for as long as we've been together. So we don't have kids, but again, we're together all the time. And there have been many, 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 many situations where we really need to take a look and say, okay, yes, we're together, but we're not together, and take that time and spend it. So for me, it's a thought of, okay, if I have somebody who can help me with, let's say, the cooking and the cleaning and whatnot in the house, will that then give me the opportunity to spend the time that I need with my children to make sure that I feel like they're getting all of me and still be able to give the time that I need to my husband while still managing the businesses so the both of us don't end up, feeling like, oh, this was the bad choice and now everything we've spent our entire lives working for, we're sacrificing. So it's hard. I hear a lot of women telling me you can't do it. You just can't. You think you can, but you don't know. And once you have your kids, everything's going to change. And I don't believe that it has to change that drastically.
No, I think that you guys have identified the things that you need to do to maintain the kind of relationship you have, still work your business and make plans for the future. Because for me, I don't have a cleaning lady. I would really like one because this weekend I worked on making sure the newspaper was full. I had to cook for my son's birthday party. Then I had to make sure the the bottom floor of the house was decent. Wow. And anybody who wanted to venture to the upstairs bathroom
was at your own risk.
No. Up the stairs, it was vacuumed, it was clean. But do not go to my bedroom because I have not addressed that. That is chaos in there. Just leave that be, right? So I'm constantly run off my feet trying to do this, trying to do that, and but if you have a plan saying that, well, when I throw kids into the mix, then if I need to get somebody to maintain my house so I'm not cleaning and doing laundry, then I can spend that time with my children. It's just me and them. Because I'm cleaning and I'm trying to tell, the little one, stop running around, floor's wet. Or I shove him on his head and be like, floor's wet, we gotta wait for it to dry, you gotta hold him, right? So I think that you have established the things that you need to do to accommodate children. And that's very good, because for me, it was played by ear. Let's see what's gonna happen. You know, when I get run off my feet, that's when I'm starting to adjust and make changes. Like, I came from a background where on the weekends, you clean the whole house from top to bottom. You know, all those, you know, perfume bottles and lipstick, you know, you wipe all of that stuff and put it away. To when I met my husband and I started working for the business, on the weekend, I shut down. It's time to clean. And he's looking at me, what are you doing? Just you and me in the house. We have a business to run. We've got money to make. Nobody's coming to the house to see there's dust in the bedroom. Go to work, right?
So true.
Right? So then eventually I had to break out from, okay, I'm not cleaning the house on the weekend now because I have to go to work, to getting to the point where there's 2 kids in the mix and, you know, laundry's still up to date, but going through my closets and organizing that, you know, if I fold my stuff and it's tilting this way, it's clean, it's folded. At least it's not in a pile somewhere, right? Like it's not organized. Now he's looking at me like, are you going to organize this? And I'm like, oh yeah, I could. So would you like me to sell the advertising on Saturday, or would you like me to organize the closet?
Well, there's just so many pressures that that come in, that are external pressures. There's and self-imposed pressure. So you know, whether at this point in time or not, like I'm curious to know, do you feel pressure? You know, there's a little story out there about you know, people in their 20s that are out there at weddings, and the older people always come up and tap them on the shoulder and say, you're next. So this guy decided to, when he goes to funerals, now he taps on the old people's shoulder and says, you're next. It's a joke. I'm just kidding. But I'm just wondering, it's terrible. Do you feel that pressure on you, because you're saying, you know, people are kind of looking 12 years. Do you feel that pressure? Is it truly, is there the biological clock ticking? Do you really feel those types of things happening for you?
So the biological clock, honestly, no. I feel like I'm so healthy. I just feel so good that I can't imagine that in 3 or 4 years, I wouldn't be physically able to, you know, percolate this little guy or little girl inside of my belly and bring them into this world. But from the exterior, it's been from the day of our wedding, and I'm the guy at the funeral, right? So everybody started with me at our wedding, and I just said, like, all of my husband's friends were like, all right, now it's time for you to, you know, start having those babies. And I thought, no. And I told them all, I said, you know what, you guys are all going to have your kids first, and then I'll have mine. And they were single and whatnot, but last week, the last of his friends had their baby. So now it's starting again. And I was really bad in the beginning. I couldn't handle it all that gracefully. So I was just like, we're never having kids. So of course that upset our parents and whatnot. So now it's just, you know, we're working on it. And when it's right, it's right. But it's a lot. It's a lot of everybody, like, you know, parents are like, what about us? What about us? And your, you know, our ability to have, you know, time with our grandchildren. I'm thinking, oh, wow, now I have to think about this part too.
Yeah, because that's so true though. I see a lot of grandparents out there, or wannabe grandparents out there going, look I'm not getting any younger. I want to be a grandma or a grandpa. And you know, you're thinking, okay, well, that's great. But I'm not necessarily ready to do that, because you are going to be the one who's primarily responsible for the rearing and gearing of that child, and that's great to be able to have that opportunity to have grandparents share time and love. But really, that is a huge pressure, and I think it's something that a lot of women in your situation, position, age range are facing, because there's so much pressure. And people do, I think, look at couples that have been together for a certain amount of time and kind of, you know, eyebrow raise, like, well, why aren't you having any kids? What's going on there? Kind of thing. So I can imagine that. Yeah, it occurs.
You know, we get a lot of, oh, they're just being selfish. They're too busy worrying about money and this and that. You know, stop being so greedy. And I look at them, I'm like, well, who's going to feed the child? Like, who's going to provide it with dance classes and sports and all these other things? Like, of course, somebody needs to work and do this, but it took a while, and I've just kind of left it at, this is what they believe to be right. And I think at the end of the day, his friends have all now had their children. My friends are starting to have their kids, and they all, you know, they want us to experience that excitement and that joy that come with having kids, and they're worried that we're going to miss out or something. But I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of pressure. I think we're getting over it a little bit. We're starting to realize that this is just how it's going to be, and at some point the baby's going to be here, and if it's not, well.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, having been married twice and having 2 children with my first husband, 2 children with my second husband, when I first got married, I was 23 years old. We didn't have a whole heck of a lot back then, and we had our first child about a year and a half later. Now, so I've seen what it's like to have a child with not many resources, and then in my second marriage, we were a little bit more established at that time, age-wise and financially, and I've seen what it's like to be able to go through having a child with, comfortable resources. Yep. It's a crapshoot either way. I'm just telling you right now. It doesn't really matter whether you have it or you don't have it. It's that whole unknown factor because so when I think it's one of those things that whenever something happens to you, you deal with it, and whenever it comes to you, whatever circumstances you're in, you'll accommodate to it, and it'll be what it's going to be. It'll have its trials and tribulations. It'll have its pros and its benefits, and wherever people are at, I think that's the best. Whenever they're ready and it happens, it happens. It's not like you can put it back in. No, there's no return policy on
Can't
that.
hold on a couple extra months.
I remember
stay put.
when my second son was born, and I had my last 3 children at home, and so my daughter was there, and she's like, "Oh, he's really cute, Mommy. What time is he going back?" And I was like, "Yeah, where he came from, there's a no return policy. So yeah, this one's staying here."
That's so cute.
But yeah, definitely, and just to around the whole thing about when we first started the conversation, one of the things we were talking about is having it all, and that's one of the things I want to touch on a little bit is that concept of having it all, because I think that also puts a lot of pressure on us as women, whether we already have children or we're thinking about having children. It's the pressure that a lot of times I think we as women put on ourselves and our sisterhood, and I really want to encourage the women out there, knock it off. Like, if you stop being so hard on each other, and if we stop being so hard on each other or even on ourselves, maybe it would allow us to just to exist and freely and not necessarily have to have it all or be it all. I remember one day my kids had the Christmas celebration before school, and they'd asked for you to bring in cupcakes, and I mean, I had 4 kids by then. It was the third child. I think he was maybe 2. And we were so busy, and the Christmas concert was the night before, and everything has to be gluten and nut-free these days. And I could not find a store that was going to sell that at 9 o'clock at night. And I kept thinking, I bought the stuff, but I was just so exhausted I couldn't bake them. And I showed up at the school, a hot mess, just like, I'm so sorry, but I don't have any cupcakes. And they're like, did someone die? And I'm like, nobody's dead, but it's the first time that I don't have any cupcakes to bring. And they're like, it's okay. Really, we have more than enough. But I was devastated that I had let one of my juggled balls fall, because it's like we are supposed to be super mom, super woman. This is the theory out there. I mean, secretly, I dress up I have a Wonder Woman costume that I secretly wear, sometimes sleep in, just to try and ignite my superpower. We joke about being unicorns, right?
Absolutely.
So, or are we joking? Maybe not. So anyways, just that concept of having to be it all and do it all. And I think if we would, as a species, as a gender, we would cut ourselves some slack. First of all, I think the men would be like, oh, thank God, because they wouldn't have to deal with our hormone swings and the oh my God, neuroticism of being this way. But to just really take it down a notch and just, we were talking about Sandra. Yeah. Sandra was supposed to be here on the show. Something came up, and she was really quite disturbed last night that she was going to let us down. And when I heard her call this morning, that she even went through more than 5 minutes of that, it broke my heart, because I've been there and I know what that's like. And of course she didn't want to miss out today, but something happens. And I think that in holding each other's hands, and I'm not initiating the kumbaya or anything like that, but just at least saying, you know what, it's okay. And to take the standards down a little bit, that we don't have to be the June Cleavers of the world. Do you even know who that is?
I do.
Okay,
I do. I'm not that
as
young.
I realize as I'm getting older and I have younger guests on the show and make these references, I got to check in to see if
Not
they
that
know who they are. Okay, good. All right. So to stop being the June Cleavers of the world and just kind of be like, you know what? Women, we're human. Yeah. We're human and things are going to happen, and just to really encourage each other to just say it's okay, or can I get you some cupcakes? Like, there you go.
Would you like some gluten-free nuts?
That is so hard to do, Priya.
Yeah.
That is so difficult to do because, like, we're programmed, one way. And as much as you tell yourself it's okay, you beat yourself up after, right? Like with me, I would try to discipline my kids, and then I will go off and feel all guilty about it. And it's like, why am I feeling guilty? You're the one who's getting in trouble, right?
Yeah.
Like I need to discipline you, but it's so difficult to do because I guess our makeup doesn't allow us to give ourselves slack. I need to be reminded to give myself some slack.
Wow. Yeah. Discipline is so funny when you talk about that. My brother-in-law's got two gorgeous little girls, and, they're very, very active and energetic, and every once in a while they get really excited and it's time to discipline. And we're all sitting there thinking, how on earth do these two keep such a straight face having to discipline these two little girls who are looking up with you? And they always have exactly the right thing to say. Like, you can't even argue with it sometimes, but you have to stay so serious. And I'm thinking, if this was me, I don't think I'd be able to keep a straight face.
You do this, and then you turn, you laugh, and you start again. Because I've had to do that, Like, my mother used to give us the evil look. Like, if you're out and you're not sitting and you're touching things, like, she just look at you and you better stop right now, because when you go home, you're going to get your rear end whooped, right?
I think we have the same mom.
So I tried to do that to my daughter one day. Like, I tried to give her a stern look. She looked at me. She says, "Mom, why are you looking at me like that for?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
She goes, "Why are you so intensely looking at me?" I said, "I'm trying to tell you that you are in trouble. Like, you need to listen to me. Stop what you're doing."
Oh my goodness.
She's probably like, you're going to create a frown line. Don't do that.
Your
You need
face gonna
Botox. Stop that. It's not really working.
It'll get stuck like that.
Like, the kids are they're just
It's a different generation.
Very
Definitely.
different.
They're very educated. They're very aware. Anyways, I would like to ask you for a final word, both to women like yourself who are considering parenting, and maybe a word to the women that you know that are already parents.
So what I would say to women like me is, this is proof that we can have it all. It's not an impossible feat, and we shouldn't be stressed out or concerned about what it is that we're going to be able to do. I think that we will be more than okay. And for the women who are already doing it, thank you. Thank you for showing us that you can have it all. And to the women who are doing it and are so encouraging and super supportive of everybody else in there, thank you. Because it really takes the stress away from thinking, oh my gosh, what will happen if?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Trish.
Can you repeat your question? I got mommy brain.
Yeah, a final word to women considering having children, and then a final word to some of the existing mothers out there.
I think that people that are considering having children, I would say that go for it. It's a tremendous joy having kids. Having more than one kid, you're able to experience what it's like to be loved by one individual and then being loved by another individual. And then you see those two little beings just interact with each other. And it's the most rewarding feeling. It really is. As much as my life can get chaotic, I would not trade it for anything in the world. I really won't.
Thank you. Lena, where can the viewers find you, and what's up and coming for you?
So viewers can find me stilettosandhammers.com. If you just go into the contact form, that's where you'll be able to reach me. Everything is there. And if you want to come out and see what we're all about, we meet the second Monday of every month. Our next meeting will be on December 14th in Mississauga at the Living Arts Center. And we're pretty awesome. These women are incredible, very supportive of one another. And it's a wonderful, wonderful environment to be able to come out and just see the moms who are doing it, the girls who are trying to get out there and do it. It's
and
wonderful.
Just briefly, what are they doing?
So they are full-time working, corporate women. Some of them are stay-at-home moms, and they are looking to expand their means. So we are educating them on how to take what they currently have and build a financial future stability to be able to add that little bit more, to stay home with their kids if they want to, or to pay for those vacations through different investment vehicles and whatnot. And these are moms who are doing it and doing it really, really well. These are moms who are scared and want to get started but don't know how they're going to juggle. And there's women like me who are doing it or looking to do it, and they're thinking, oh, should I really start now? But, in 2 or 3 years, if I want to have kids, does that mean it's the end of it? So we all sit, we have discussions, we talk to different speakers who are doing it, and we learn.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Trish, where can we find you and what's up and coming?
Up and coming is our Toronto Caribbean Business Expo, which is happening on the 10th of April, 2016. I can be found all over social media. If you Google Trish Browning, you will definitely find me on Facebook, on Twitter, or you can give us a call at the office at 647-722-6298. A great way to connect is to go to torontocaribbean.com. You'd be able to find out what is upcoming and coming there as well.
Perfect. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your thoughts and your views about what could be up and coming and what you've already been doing. It's a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Motherhood is a beautiful gift. It comes with a lot of joy, it comes with a lot of happiness, it comes with a lot of opportunity for nurturing and being able to really expand who you are as a human being. Bringing up another human into the world is one of the greatest gifts of my life. And it comes with a lot of responsibility, it comes with a lot of ups and downs. What I want to encourage you ladies out there to do is, as I said before, please cut yourself some slack, nurture yourself. The way that you want to see your child nurtured and all the things that you tell them, please be certain that you're using those same messages for yourself. Please be sure that when you wouldn't allow your child to go hungry, that you're not skipping a meal that day either. Just use the same set of strategies and the same parenting skills, the same loving, nurturing skills you'll use for your children. Please use them on yourselves because you model how to take care of yourself to your children each and every day. By what you demonstrate to your children on your own self-care, that will really give them a strong sense of how to take care of themselves, whether they're females or male, and which is really important for them growing up. As always, I want to remind you to stop waiting and start living 365.